Thank you, Francesco. This reminds me of my days at school in Sydney when I was debating and I was the third speaker. And you walk in with, I don't need cards, it's all going to happen before me. It reminds me of those days, it takes me back to that era, not helped by the decor, which is redolent of that era, although I'm not actually as old as, I'm not that old, just slightly after. Ladies, gentlemen, orators, debaters, supporters and coaches, good evening. It is an immense pleasure to welcome the French Debating Association and the students of two such illustrious schools here at the Australian Embassy tonight. I'm delighted by the presence of such an enthusiastic audience. Good audience. Very good. And very pleased to host this important semi-final of this competition today. I should start by wishing all our speakers tonight the best of luck, or break a leg, as we say, because you're on the stage, right? Debating is the most challenging and most important of disciplines. It really is where the revenge of the nerds starts at school. They're playing football, laughing at you, doing debating, and 20 years later they're working for you, so that works out. To express yourself clearly, or not, if that's what you want to do, and persuasively, it's diplomacy, in public, to think on your feet, to construct and defend an argument, to read the audience, to anticipate, refute, and respect the opposition. And in diplomacy, it's particularly important, because diplomats are known as people who think before they don't speak. Very important. And doing this in a second language is really taking it to another level. Yeah. Australia has a strong tradition of robust, that's a nice euphemism, Harry, well done. Some might even say combative parliamentary debate. Google it, you'll see. Few debaters would welcome the description given by one Australian Prime Minister of his opponent's debating skills in the House. "It was the limpest performance I have ever seen," he said. "It was like being flogged with a warm lettuce." This was our Prime Minister. "It was like being mauled by a dead sheep." That's a compliment in the antipodes. Although at times irreverent, at the heart of Australia's tradition is a deep belief, shared with France, of the importance of free speech, competition, teamwork, and respect. And such values help build trust between individuals, communities, and countries. Simply, they bring people together. There are 30,000 participants in the Australian Debating Federation's competitions each year. That's a lot. If any of you here in the audience, on the stage, want to continue this noble sport, you should consider undertaking some study in Australia. I know there's already some Australians here. We'll look after you. Telecom. Which one's Telecom? I know you have agreements with RMIT and the UTS, two fine institutions in Sydney and Melbourne. I congratulate you. Ponts, it's you. Okay. I understand you don't have any links yet with Australian universities. Lock the doors because you're not getting out. You're in Australia now, remember, I'm in charge. This must be addressed. Surfing in the morning, coding in the afternoon, and debating at night. That's heaven in Australia. Some of you may even have already studied in Australia. I know a few members of the Australia-France Alumni Network are with us tonight. Reveal yourselves. They're shy. If you have studied in Australia and are not a member of the network, get on the program. My colleague Harriet, where's Harriet? Yeah. There's Harriet right here. Has some membership forms. It's free, it's fun. You'll get invited back to the embassy, importantly. And it's a great way to keep in contact with my wonderful country, a land of innovation, opportunity, comedy, for brilliant young French engineers. It's not just the lifestyle, although that's pretty good. 26 years of uninterrupted economic growth, committed to playing its part in defending and promoting the international rules-based order in maintaining global peace and prosperity. Inclusive, diverse, a gateway to Southeast Asia. And a great friend of France. Some of you may even end up working on the Contrat du siècle, the submarines. As engineers, there's a good chance. A massive submarine deal between our two countries. 30 milliards d'euros. Incredible. Some of you, slightly less than the prize you're receiving tonight, I understand. Some of you may benefit from a future free trade agreement. We are actively lobbying for that mandate. I'm an economist. They're slightly more boring than engineers, I think. But that's very important to us. But I'm not here to sell you rugby, meat pies, kangaroos, or submarines. As the great Athenian Diodotos said in evoking the power of debate, the good citizen ought to triumph not by frightening his opponents, but by beating them fairly in argument. But there's one line that's got me here I am today in the sharp-edged world of diplomacy. There's one phrase you need to know. It's not who you know, it's whom you know. With that,
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the FDA's 25th tournament semi-finals. Much like a retired American citizen moving to Florida, as years go by, the FDA seeks sunnier and sunnier skies. From England to Ireland, admittedly a bad move, and then to Mexico, we have at last heeded the advice of Ray Davis and the Kinks, who told us back in '69 that opportunities are available in all walks of life in Australia. Everyone walks around with a perpetual smile across their face. And indeed, the embassy's hospitality is certainly a testament to this sentiment. So please join me in extending our deepest gratitude to the Australian Embassy and all of its staff. Notably, of course, Dice Laborde, Public Affairs Officer, Harriet O'Malley, Public Diplomacy Manager, His Excellency Angus Mackenzie, Deputy Head of Mission, and, of course, His Excellency Brendan Berne, whose presence this evening is truly an honour. And to really warm up the crowd tonight and get your juices flowing, I will begin by reminding you of the rules which will govern the debate. Please keep your cool. Mimicking the rules and procedures of the House of Commons, 5 speakers from the government will confront 5 speakers from the opposition. Each speaker will be granted 6 minutes under the direct scrutiny of our beloved bellboy, the timeless and time-defying Robert Bradford. During his or her speech, a speaker may be interrupted by a member of the other team, either by a point of information or a point of order. Points of information must be questions and are asked by standing up and placing one's hand upon one's head or one's hand outstretched, whichever looks the silliest. The speaker may or may not accept the point, but is obliged to take at least one, and it is recommended that he or she take 2. If a point is accepted, it is included in the timing of the speech. Points of order, on the other hand, are a graver affair and are made directly to me. They regard the running of the debate or its procedure. They are made to ensure that both the rules and the underlying principles of courtesy and decency are respected. If a point of order is asked, Time will be stopped whilst I adjudicate the grievance. The first and the last minute of each speech are protected and no points of information are admissible during that time. The end of the first minute and the beginning of the 6th minute will be kindly signalled by our bellboy with the sound. At the end of the 6 minutes, which are allocated to each speaker, you will hear the sound. At this point, the speaker will be expected to conclude his or her speech as promptly as possible. And if he or she does not do so, within 15 seconds, the bellboy has been instructed to be as rude as he can until he or she stops speaking.
Works for you too.
That sounds a bit like our fire alarm. Not alarm anyone.
Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to remind you that beautiful and charismatic though the speakers may be, this is not a television. This is a house, and you are its members. It is your privileged duty to interact with the speakers and give the debate the life that it deserves. So if you agree with what a speaker is saying, show your support with a heartfelt yeah! Good. If, however, you are outraged by a statement, let the speaker know with a bellowing shame. You've done this before.
Hear, hear.
Now, having been reminded by the rules that they will abide by, I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome our two teams tonight, Telecom and Ponts. Proposing the motion tonight, Telecom will be ably led by their Prime Minister, Anadi Aboud. Followed by their second speaker, Xavier Thompson. Third speaker, Matthias Schäfer. Fourth speaker, Adriano Del Gallo. And the government whip this evening will be Romain Tin. Opposing tonight's motion, Ponts will be headed by their shadow Prime Minister, Gaël Mbok. Followed by their second speaker, Antoine Adeline. Third speaker, Hussein Begdadi. Fourth speaker, Clément Fani. And lastly, to conclude the debate, the opposition whip, Mr. Arnaud de Bichon. Now, here to decide which team will take the decisive lead and win their tickets to this year's final, I ask you to extend the warmest welcome to our learned jury. James Mellors, the ESEG coach. Nicholas Walker, ASAS finalist in 2010 and honorary experience. Vanessa Duchâtel, INSEE 2008 and former FDA Secretary General. Lou Churin, Sorbonne semi-finalist in 2017. Julien Siret, Nanterre winner in 2016. And last but not least, His Excellency Brendan Berne, who will be presiding the jury with the tie-breaking vote. Yeah! to guide them in their impossible task, the jury has been asked to judge the speakers and their respective teams on the following criteria. Argumentation, which concerns the content of a speech. Form, or how said content is put forth. Teamwork, which pertains to a team's cohesion and strategy. Engagement, or how well teams interact with their opponents and debate with them instead of next to them. And lastly, star quality, the particular charisma which we enjoy so much and turns a debater into an orator. In essence, ladies and gentlemen, and in conformity with Cicero's teachings, the speakers are asked to prove, to please, and to persuade. So I invite you to turn to the teams and to the motion which is submitted to you this evening. Tonight, we go to the very heart of humanity's soul as we debate the motion, "This House believes that if there is no struggle, there is no progress." I call upon the government, Prime Minister, and NTF.